In today's dive into movie magic, we're unpacking I Love You, Beth Cooper, a whirlwind of a night that starts with a high school confession and spirals into an unforgettable adventure. From declarations of love to chaotic chases, join us as our unlikely hero, Dennis, navigates the complexities of love, friendship, and growing up. Hit subscribe for a journey through the highs, lows, and hilarious moments that define teenage life and the bravery it takes to speak your heart. All right, picture this. There's this high school graduation party, right? It's the scene where we first get a glimpse of our hero, Dennis. He's got it bad for Beth Cooper, the kind of girl who turns heads just by walking down the hallway. Now, Dennis. He's not exactly Mr. Popular, but his buddy Rich. He's got this wild idea. He tells Dennis, "Man, you gotta tell her how you feel tonight. It's now or never, dude." Imagine that, pouring your heart out when you've never even chatted her up before. So, there they are at the party, and it's Dennis's turn to speak. Everyone's expecting the usual snooze fest, but out of nowhere, Dennis goes full rom-com hero on them. He confesses his love for Beth in front of everyone. Talk about a mic drop moment. But here's the kicker. Beth's as clueless about Dennis as she is stunning, and her boyfriend? Yeah, the guy's built like a tank and has a military haircut to match. Not exactly the audience you want for your love declaration. But Dennis, oh, he's on a roll. He doesn't just stop with his love confession. He's all about living with no regrets, urging everyone to spill their guts about whatever's on their mind. And just like that, the room goes from bored out of their minds to utterly gobsmacked. Can you imagine the chaos? So, there's Dennis, fresh off his blockbuster confession, trying to catch his breath outside. And who should catch up to him but the school teacher? She's not exactly thrilled about his speech gone viral moment, but then she gets this far-off look in her eyes, like she's remembering some old flame of her own. She totally gets where Dennis is coming from. Now, get this. Beth Cooper herself, the star of Dennis's grand love confession, comes up to him. She's all, "You totally blindsided me back there, but gotta say, it was kinda cute." And just when you think it can't get any more movie-like, she starts feeling the heat and peels off her graduation robe. Boom, there she is, looking like summer in shorts and a tee, making every heart skip a beat. But wait, it gets better. Rich, Dennis's wingman, decides it's the perfect time to crash the moment. Beth, maybe feeling a bit too in the spotlight, starts to bail. But Dennis? He's not ready to let the credits roll yet. He shoots his shot, inviting her to a party at his place. Beth's all about the graceful exit, but before she can ghost, her boyfriend, Kevin, Mr. Military Might, storms over. He's about to turn Dennis into a human pretzel when the teacher steps in, and just like that, Kevin backs off. So, after the whole confession drama, Dennis and his wingman Rich are hoofing it back home. Along the way, they get those not-so-friendly loser shouts from the peanut gallery. And then, out of nowhere, Rich decides it's story time. He tells Dennis, "Dude, I'm straight. I like girls." Dennis is all, "Why would I think otherwise?" But then he remembers this one time. Nah, he keeps that story in the vault. They start riffing about why neither of them has had a girlfriend. For Rich, it's a mystery. For Dennis, it's more about not playing the game right. And then, graduation gifts come up. Dennis got an iPod, which is cool, right? Rich, though, his gift was a reality check. A bill for a whopping $250,000 from his folks. Talk about parental love, huh? Cut to them prepping for the party. Dennis is all nerves, doing the smell check on his t-shirt and deciding it needs some fresh air. Meanwhile, his folks roll up with some last-minute party tips. They're like, "Son, if you're planning on impressing, maybe start with fresh undies." Classic parent advice. They even leave behind a small arsenal of champagne and their digits, just in case the party goes sideways. Dad, the ever-helpful, lays down some wisdom about making the summer unforgettable and basically gives Dennis the green light to go wild. And the cherry on top? A not-so-subtle nudge about where the protection is. The boys get the message loud and clear. The moment Dennis's folks hit the road, he and Rich are on pins and needles, waiting for anyone to show up to what could either be the best night of their lives or a total bust. Just when they're about to lose hope, who should come tearing around the corner like they're in a Fast and Furious movie? None other than Beth Cooper, with her crew of gal pals in tow. The sight of her stepping out of the car is like a shot of adrenaline straight to Dennis's heart. She's just that stunning. As they all pile into the house, the girls can't hide their surprise at being the first ones there. Apparently, fashionably late is their usual MO. Dennis and Rich try to break the ice with some jokes, but let's just say their humor doesn't exactly land. Cue the awkward silence until Beth's phone rings and it's her boyfriend on the line. Talk about bad timing. Looking to smooth over the growing tension, Dennis and Rich bust out the champagne. And wouldn't you know it, that's when the party really starts to kick off. The bubbly seems to work its magic on the girls, loosening everyone up and getting them into the party spirit. The mood shifts from awkward to, let's make some memories tonight. Catching the vibe, Rich remembers the protection advice from Dennis's dad and heads off to fetch the goods, ready to see where the night might lead. The anticipation is through the roof. This party's about to go from 0 to 100 real quick. So the party's just getting started when things take a turn for the wild. Kevin, Beth's boyfriend, crashes the scene, and he's not there to toast marshmallows. He goes full action movie villain, smashing a vase against the wall to make his point. Dennis and Rich? They're dodging champagne bottles like they're in some kind of bizarre dodgeball game. And just when you think it can't get crazier, Kevin hurls the microwave into the wall. Yeah, you heard that right. A microwave. Our heroes, Dennis and Rich, they make a break for it, barricading themselves in Dennis's room and scrambling for anything that could pass for a weapon. What do they find? A kid's toy sword. Talk about being underprepared. Rich dives into the closet, and Dennis takes cover behind the wall, their hearts racing like crazy. Kevin storms in, all fury and muscle, and that's when he spots it. A picture of Beth above Dennis's bed. Talk about awkward discoveries. Dennis, fueled by adrenaline or maybe just sheer panic, decides it's now or never and goes for it. But Kevin? He's got a trick up his sleeve, wielding a skeleton. Yes, a skeleton like some kind of bone ninja, using its arms as weapons. In the midst of the chaos, Rich makes a daring escape through the window, and just as Kevin is about to go full gladiator on Dennis, Beth bursts in. The sight of her picture above Dennis's bed stops her in her tracks, but there's no time to dwell on it. Dennis makes a break for it, diving out the window, only to land in a rose bush. Ouch. But there's no rest for the weary. Dennis, Rich, and now Beth are on the run, with Kevin hot on their heels. In a moment straight out of an action flick, Dennis dashes onto the road, only to be met by the glaring headlights of an oncoming car, driven by none other than Beth. She scoops him up, and with Rich catching up, they all pile into the car. Beth floors it, and they're off, leaving Kevin and his skeleton behind in a cloud of dust. So, they're zooming away, right? And it turns out Beth behind the wheel is like a scene straight out of a How Not to Drive manual. Rich, with memories of their driving school days flashing before his eyes, realizes they've just traded one kind of danger for another. But hey, at least they're out of immediate skeleton arm-wielding boyfriend danger, right? Dennis, trying to be the responsible one for a second, asks for a phone to give his folks a heads up. But his call for help turns into a comedy show when the phone ends up vibrating in some rather unexpected places. Beth, ever the quick thinker, realizes they could be tracked through the phone and chucks it out the window like it's hot. With the crisis averted, they crank up the tunes, and suddenly it's a mobile party. They're all singing, dancing, and for a fleeting moment, everything's just perfect. Their adventure takes a pit stop at a gas station, where Beth's unique driving skills have Dennis getting up close and personal with the dashboard. And then, even more awkwardly, with Beth. They head into the store together, aiming to stock up on some party fuel, aka beer. Dennis tries to play it cool, complimenting Beth, and she's actually digging it. But then, the age-old problem of being underage at a liquor store hits them. Beth, not one to be deterred, manages to convince the clerk with a kiss that's probably worth more than the beer itself. Dennis overhears this little exchange and, just like that, the image he had of Beth starts to crack. So, they find their way to this secluded spot in the woods, right? It's the perfect backdrop for some classic teenage shenanigans. They get a bonfire going, and the vibe is just right. Beth, being the cool girl she is, cracks open a beer with her teeth, showing off a bit. Dennis, not wanting to be outdone, gives it a go and, snap, there goes his milk tooth. Ouch, right? But the mood's still light, romantic tunes are playing, and it feels like they're in their own little world. The rest of the crew senses that Dennis and Beth need some alone time, so they wander off, stumbling upon some cows and, for whatever reason, decide to try tipping one. Meanwhile, Dennis is getting deep, talking about his future, his college plans. Beth, sensing something's off, asks why he seems disappointed in her. Dennis lays it out. His ideal Beth Cooper wouldn't trade kisses for beer because she's priceless. Cut back to the cow tipping squad. Things go sideways real fast. The cows aren't having any of it and decide to chase them instead. Chaos ensues, and when they finally make it back to the car, the smell hits them. Rich got the worst of it in the cow chase, and his sneakers have to be sacrificed for the sake of the group's nostrils. Now, back on the road, Beth decides to up the ante on her already questionable driving by turning off the headlights. Yeah, driving in pitch black. What could go wrong, right? When the lights finally come back on, bam, they're practically in the lap of Dennis's parents' car. And just when you think it can't get more awkward, they catch a glimpse of what his parents are up to. Decision time. Stick around for awkward explanations, or make a break for it. They choose the latter, peeling out of there before you can say, grounded for life. They make it to this other party, right? And the moment they're there, the girls make a beeline for the pool. But it's not long before Dennis sees Beth chatting up some other dude, and feeling a bit out of place, he ducks into the bathroom. That's where he bumps into Greg, the guy he accidentally dissed at the reunion. Instead of the showdown you'd expect, Dennis manages to find just the right words. And next thing you know, Greg's pouring his heart out. Turns out, he just needed someone to understand him. They share this unexpected moment of connection, and by the end of it, they're practically bros. Dennis, feeling a bit lighter, heads back to join his friend. They're just grabbing some snacks when a classmate comes over, all praises about Dennis's prom speech. Just as things are looking up, word gets out that Kevin, Beth's ex, is at the party, and Dennis bolts. But fate throws Beth back in his path, and they catch Kevin in the act of making out with someone else. Without a second thought, Beth's over him and plotting a rescue mission for Dennis and his buddy. The tension's high as Kevin zeroes in on Dennis, ready to throw down. But Dennis, not one to back away from a challenge, pleads for some backup from the crowd. Just when it looks like it's going to get ugly, the landlady steps in, egging Kevin on. Out of nowhere, the school coach appears, laying down the fight rules like it's the final round of some high school drama boxing match. Dennis, though, he's not about fighting. He just wants out. But Kevin? He lands a cheap shot. That's when Greg, newfound friend and unexpected hero, steps in. He takes down Kevin with a knockout punch and goes on to tackle his buddies too. It's like something out of an action movie, except Greg doesn't come out on top in the end. But still, for a moment, he was the champion Dennis needed. Just when you think the night can't get any more insane, Beth's car zooms up like a cavalry charge in the nick of time. They pile in, hearts racing, and amid the chaos, Beth decides they're not done with the night. School's the next stop for a bit of cheerleader-style fun. The girls, being cheerleaders, put on an impromptu show for the guys, which is all fun and games until the mood takes a dive, and Beth suggests hitting the showers. Rich, ever the opportunist, volunteers for the rescue mission. Dennis, finding himself in the locker room, is suddenly surrounded by his beautiful classmates in nothing but towels. Then, Beth, in a move bold enough to stop anyone's heart, drops her towel, inviting Dennis to join them for a swim. It's like every high school fantasy coming to life, and Dennis is all in, ready to dive into this dream scenario. The girls holler for the guys, and they all make a beeline to the pool. But as Rich makes his exit, Dennis is cornered once again by Kevin. It's looking grim until his friend swoops in, saving Dennis from a beatdown. They scramble to the car, but in the rush, Dennis realizes he's pantsless. Talk about a wardrobe malfunction. Meanwhile, Rich is back at the school, dealing with his own attackers. But here's the twist. Rich has been mastering the art of towel combat since he was a kid. One by one, he takes them down. A towel-wielding warrior. Victorious, Rich races back to his friends waiting by the car, ready to make their grand escape from one of the wildest nights of their lives. As they're driving away from their latest adventure, the conversation takes a turn to the why of it all. Dennis opens up, sharing all these little quirks and facts he knows about Beth. Stuff that makes it clear he's been paying attention. And because he's nursing a busted nose from the night's escapades, his friends hand him tampons. Practical for nosebleeds, if not a bit unconventional. Beth, with a mix of amusement and a hint of guilt, lets slip that crashing Dennis's party was supposed to be a joke. A bit of fun that obviously spiraled way out of control, leading to Dennis's unfortunate nasal injury. She's blunt, telling him his shirt's gotta go because, well, it reeks. Attempting to air out his shirt, Dennis ends up losing it to the wind, And in the chaos of stopping the car, Rich finds himself in an unexpected pileup with one of Beth's friends. Scrambling to recover his dignity and his shirt, Dennis forgets he's down to just his favorite undies. The friends can't help but crack up, but Beth, ever so resourceful, wraps him in her cape for modesty's sake. As they look for his shirt, Beth questions why Dennis would ever confess his love in such a public, grandiose way at the prom. Dennis, seizing the moment, explains the depth of his feelings, turning what could have been an awkward conversation into something sincere. Beth seems genuinely touched by his honesty. Just when they think they've found the shirt, this troublemaker swoops in, claiming it for himself. He's menacing enough to send them all running, a fittingly wild end to a night that's been anything but predictable. Finally making it to Beth's place, the night refuses to wind down. They kick back with some drinks, warming up from the night's chill and adventures. Then, Beth, with that look in her eyes, pulls Dennis aside to catch the sunrise. It's one of those moments, you know? Just them and the first light of a new day. Beth shares stories about her brother, opening up in a way that makes the moment feel even more intimate. Meanwhile, Rich is back at it, trying to prove his point with the girls, making jokes and finding out that, hey, they actually have a lot in common. It's all laughs and deep chats, a real bonding session happening. As the sky starts to lighten, Dennis and Beth are there, soaking in the sunrise. Beth mentions how much she loves hugs, but when Dennis goes in for one, she pulls back. Not yet. Not this time. It's complicated, you know? Back with Rich, the night takes another turn. He's still on his mission to prove his straightness, and the girls are teasing, questioning why he didn't react in the shower. They decide to turn up the charm, showing off their cookie-eating skills, of all things. It's playful, flirty, and somehow leads to them tugging at Rich's shirt, hinting at more adventures to come in the bedroom. As the night turns into morning, Dennis and Beth share this quiet, reflective moment. Dennis admits that this night, this crazy, unpredictable adventure, is what he's going to remember most about school. But for Beth, school was her peak, filled with moments she'll cherish, but also mourn as they're now behind her. She voices this fear of stepping into the unknown that lies beyond graduation, a vulnerability that catches Dennis off guard. In this moment of raw honesty, Dennis steps up, offering words of reassurance that resonate with hope. "Everything will be okay," he says, and in the bravery of that moment, he kisses her, sealing a night of unforgettable memories. Meanwhile, back at home, the aftermath of the night's earlier party awaits. Dennis's parents, who had their own unexpected encounter with their son and his friends during the night, are now tidying up. The revelation that their paths had crossed under such bizarre circumstances brings a mix of emotions. Dennis's mom heads off to start breakfast, a gesture of normalcy after a night of chaos. His dad, ever the supportive figure, acknowledges Dennis's need for fun and the memories made, but also notes that there will be consequences for the first time. It's a mix of pride and parental duty, a nod to the balance between letting kids be kids and guiding them through the repercussions of their actions. Dennis, despite the looming punishment, can't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. The night had been a roller coaster, but in the end, everything worked out. It was a night of firsts, of lessons learned, and most importantly, of memories made that would last a lifetime. With that, Beth and her friends hop into their car, leaving in the same whirlwind manner they arrived. The car speeds off, leaving Dennis in a mix of emotions, hope, sadness, and a bit of excitement for what the future holds. It's a farewell, but not a goodbye. A promise of what could be, wrapped up in the thrill of what has been. And that, my friends, wraps up the whirlwind adventure that is I Love You, Beth Cooper. A story that takes us through the highs and lows of high school life, the bravery of confessing your crush, and the unforgettable night that follows. Dennis, our underdog hero, steps out of his comfort zone, and alongside the enigmatic Beth Cooper, experiences a night filled with chaos, laughter, and unexpected moments of vulnerability and connection. This movie beautifully captures the essence of teenage life, the fear of the unknown future, and the bittersweet farewell to the best years of our lives. It's a roller coaster ride of emotions, from the adrenaline-pumping chases to the quiet, introspective moments shared between two unlikely companions. If you enjoyed this recap and want to dive deeper into more movie magic, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world, and it's what keeps these stories coming. Now, I've got a question for you all that I'm dying to hear your thoughts on. Do you believe in the kind of pact that Beth and Dennis made? If you found yourself at a crossroads with someone from your past at a reunion, would you consider turning a youthful promise into reality? Or is it best to leave such promises in the nostalgic haze of our teenage years? Drop your thoughts, experiences, or even your own pact stories in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going about the promises we make and the paths life takes us on. Until next time, keep watching, keep dreaming, and who knows, maybe keep making those pacts.